everybody, welcome back. If you don't know, my name is Cooper, and today we're going to be talking about how to instantly make your space feel cozy. Just for context, I moved into this apartment about 6 months ago, and this apartment is completely cookie cutter, so it's very like gray and very boring, and the floors are just like that landlord specialty flooring that you see all the time. And though I love the space, it really didn't feel super cozy to me, so I really needed to figure out a way to do that and make it feel like a home rather than a gray box. My interior design style falls along the lines of more of like moody design. I really gravitate heavily towards mid-century interiors and mid-century influence. I really love the sleek lines that era of furniture has, and I think overall like classic mid-century design is a really great way to kind of warm up a modern apartment, considering it still like leans modern in the shapes and designs, but there are a lot more warm tones and cozy fabrics and great designs that can overall just make your space feel better. And just as a disclaimer, I wanted to mention that everybody has their own definition of cozy, and my definition of cozy is when you come home and you walk into your house and it's all warm and lit up and it just feels like home, and you just want to sit and lay down and snuggle up on the couch and watch TV or whatever. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be talking about is furniture. And the main thing that I want to mention here is that your furniture be semi-cohesive to the architecture in your space. So if you have a more modern construction home, opting for sleeker lines and more modern pieces can kind of help make the space feel a little more cohesive and collected. Whereas if you're doing two super contrasting styles, for example, if you have a Victorian house and you're putting like glam modern furniture in it, it's not going to turn out looking well. And I'm not saying that you have to stick to the interior design style that matches the era of architecture that you live in, but all I'm saying is you want to keep in mind the shapes and lines in your house and make sure that your furniture style kind of emulates that. And I think there's ways to do that in any type of interior design style. So whether it's modern, traditional, whatever, you can find furniture that kind of blends your architecture in. So also in regards to furniture, I wanted to mention vintage styles. And honestly, something that I highly recommend to everybody is finding a era of furniture that you really like and mixing it into your space, because I think just having modern pieces, and by modern I mean like made now, can really make your house feel flat and lack in personality. So I think, finding different interior design styles that you like, whether they're from 50 years ago or not, you can still incorporate it into your space and it can look really nice. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters here is that you love your house and it feels cozy to you. And the last thing I wanted to mention for furniture is investing in big pieces. So I know this isn't possible for everybody, like I completely get it, because large furniture is very expensive. But one way to make your like apartment or new house feel a little bit more grounded and a little bit less like sterile is to get large furniture pieces. So for example, I have a huge massive desk that I recently got. If you watch my last home updates, there's a little bit more about it there. But anyways, I recently got a very large industrial desk and it really made a difference in the way that the space felt. Previously, I had an IKEA desk, which was completely fine and practical, but I wanted something that fit me and my space a little bit better. So if you want to get larger pieces of furniture on a budget, you can go on Facebook Marketplace, and a lot of the times they'll have very cheap office furniture because of like office liquidation places, or you can get bookshelves for really cheap, just like a standard IKEA bookshelf. I would recommend getting like a wooden one and just like lining them up in a row. And if you do have that higher budget, I know I'm biased, but personally I feel like mid-century wall units are really great in that case, because usually they're made up of like a really warm toned wood and cover like the expanse of an entire wall. That can be really impactful in warming up your space. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is lighting. So just to set the basis here, you guys, let's not rely on our ceiling light or can lights in the ceiling. They just don't look good. Everybody looks blown out in pictures under these, and I don't really feel like anybody looks extremely flattering under overhead lighting. The first thing that I want to mention with lighting is layering your lighting. So if you don't know, there are a lot of different types and uses for lighting. I know that seems obvious, but they're broken down into about 3 different categories. So the first category is ambient lighting. So that would be like overhead pendants, chandeliers. So for example, in my bedroom, I have a very nice like rice paper lantern that hangs from the ceiling. That would be an example of ambient lighting. I'm not sure if sconces fit into this category or not, but I would say they count as ambient lighting, at least to me personally. The next category of lighting is task lighting. So honestly, the definition is in the name. So this is lighting that's used for tasks. So this would be desk lamp, a table lamp, a reading light, I guess like a sconce that you move. A lot of like task lamps in particular have this kind of like mechanism where you can move it at some point in the light to kind of direct it towards whatever you are doing. I'm curious as to whether the light behind me in my living room is a task light. I guess it would be. It's just a really massive task light because you can rotate it and stuff like that. If anybody's wondering, it's from IKEA and I cannot pronounce the name for you, so sorry. And then the last category of lighting is going to be accent lighting or like natural lighting. So this would be like more of like soft glow lighting. So this would be like, for example, like candlelight. Like that kind of magnitude of light. The color of your lighting also makes a huge difference in your space. If your room feels cold, part of that reason could be that you're using the wrong bulbs. So if anybody doesn't know, lighting is measured in kelvins. And just to break that down, the higher the kelvins you have, the cooler tone the lighting is going to be. And so you want to stick to lower Kelvin bulbs. I know it sounds a little complicated, but when you go to the store and look at bulbs or you're buying bulbs online, it will literally say on the box. So what you want to look for is bulbs that are under 3000 kelvins. That's usually what I like to stick to. Also, something I highly recommend is just getting adjustable bulbs. I know they can be a little bit expensive, but you can go on Amazon and buy like a Bluetooth adjustable light bulb. And honestly, these are super helpful. Just a little peek into my life, I actually set my adjustable bulbs on timer, so when they turn on and off, and I actually have pendant light above my bed turn on at the same time as my alarm in the morning, and that way it kind of forces me up out of bed to get going for the day. Another thing I wanted to talk about is something that I like to call the unexpected lamp theory. So basically what this means is just putting a super cool and unique lamp where you would just normally put a regular lamp. For example, if you have a more traditional space, getting a really modern lamp for your living room or whatever. I think this is especially great if you find a lamp that you really love or that really speaks to you, and this can create like a really unique atmosphere, which I think can help make it feel a little bit more cozy. Investing in lamps and placing them around your house, you can even have like little mini lamps in your kitchen. You can do like a little battery powered lamp on your coffee table. These are the key to making things cozy, you guys. They really warm everything up and make it feel super homey. I also think wall sconces are a little overlooked. You know, in the past, I've looked at wall sconces and thought that's actually such a pain in the butt to install. But actually, it's relatively easy, especially if you get a plug-in sconce. I really love those because they're easy to install. They're not like gonna destroy your wall, and you can plug them in, so they're easily removable. I have one in my living room. It's that kind of orangey donut lamp from IKEA, and it creates a really nice little warm glow and just a little extra brightness that I need. And that leads me into my next tip, which is going to be using textiles throughout your space. So to start off, one thing that I see a lot of people get wrong is carpets and rugs. Personally, I feel as though it's better to have no rug or no carpet instead of a rug or carpet that is too small for the space. So how do you know if your rug or carpet is too small for your space and making things feel off? So you want to make sure that your carpet is at least like under the front of your furniture is the rule that I say. Whether that's for your living room or bedroom, I stick to that rule. One, for practicality reasons, but two, also just for visual reasons. So in my living room, I have a super huge 10 by 14 foot rug, which I got as a result of me hating my vinyl plank floors. The reason why I opted for such a massive rug is so that my space would feel comfortable and cozy. And if you're trying to find a really large rug, you can go on Facebook Marketplace. Usually they'll have them for a little bit cheaper, or you can look around at local thrift stores. But personally, I just ended up getting one online because it was easier, and I feel like thrifting a rug can be a little bit sketchy because you don't know what's been on that rug. Just a hypothetical here. If I were to have gotten a rug that was too small for my living room, that would only cover the length under my coffee table, that would just look completely off, and honestly, it makes your space feel very small. The next textile I wanted to talk about is curtains. I think curtains are extremely important. So, in my apartment, when I moved in, I'm not exactly sure why the building I live in did this, but the wall with the windows on it is kind of like this plasticky metal material, which is just very odd. And so I was like, okay, I really need to cover this up. So for curtains, I really like to do like lighter materials that allow more light to pass through, because I think that no matter what space you have, you should be trying to get the most amount of light in it as possible. Because personally, a well naturally lit space is extremely cozy and extremely tranquil. So for my curtains, these are, I think they're called the Lenda curtains from IKEA. And I picked these because one, they were pretty affordable, and two, they were made of this like really light kind of linen-y material. And when light shines through them, they almost look like this buttery yellow color, which I think is really beautiful. And then as far as hanging curtains goes, I think it's always better to opt for track curtains. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but like the curtains with the holes in them, those are never a good idea. Please don't get those. They just make your space feel a little bit cheap. It just doesn't look very great. So I would say getting track curtains is really great. They slide really easily, easy to open, and they're not very expensive. You can go to IKEA and just get the track system and install those super easily. So the next thing I wanted to mention is something that I'm very guilty of not doing, and that is having throw blankets around your house. That seems like pretty obvious in making your space cozy, but throw blankets are very much essential. And for the first 4 months of living in my apartment, I had no throw blankets. You can get throw blankets for really cheap, and if you're looking to refresh your space a little bit, I think throw blankets are a really great way to do that. And you can never have too many of these, in my personal opinion, because you can always store them away for future use if you have more guests over. I think throw blankets are a really great way to integrate pattern and texture. I wanted to talk a little bit about bedrooms, because bedrooms can be honestly a little bit tricky and a little bit of an afterthought to design. I think a lot of people tend to focus on their living room and the more high traffic areas in their house, and the bedroom is not usually one of those. I don't know, unless you have a high traffic bedroom, but I am not gonna further explain that. So for bedding, I really like to opt for super simple stuff because it can also be pretty expensive, and so I want to make sure that it lasts for a long time and I don't get tired of it. For bedding, I really like to go for soft textiles. So I really love linen personally. I think it's the best. I think it wears the best with time, and I think it honestly is a very great material and really lasts. So linen bedding is usually what I opt for, and it honestly, I think, does the best job at making spaces feel cozy. And I think doing a duvet situation is just honestly better across the board. I think duvets are like the emblem of cozy, honestly, because who doesn't see like a super overstuffed duvet cover that doesn't look like you just want to jump into it and it's super comfortable? That leads me into the last point I wanted to make, which is plants. I think plants are extremely important when designing your space. I think they add a sign of life. I think they add a lot of like warmth and coziness to your space, and they make it feel lived in. There's nothing more calming and cozy for human beings than being surrounded by, the natural world. And although we live in this very fast paced society, plants can kind of be a respite for that. So, having a lot of plants around your house is very important, and I also believe psychologically they do make you feel a lot calmer. If you want to know a little bit more about how I integrate plants into my space, you can watch my plant tour video where I go through all my plants and explain them. My personal rule of thumb is 2 plants per room minimum. without that, it can feel a little bit barren and a little bit sterile. So, also doing a tree in your house is very important. I've talked a little bit about this before, but trees are a very great way to incorporate plants into your house, especially if you're not huge into taking care of plants. I have a Dracaena marginata in my living room. It really brings a lot of warmth into the space. And I think honestly, plants are the best decor item because they change. And what's better than that? You know what I mean? In my living room, I have a ton of natural light and all these big windows, right? So I can have a lot of plants in here. But for my bedroom, I have no windows, so there's no natural light. So what am I supposed to do if I want to have plants? What you can do is, again, you can go online and you can find a grow light for about $20. For me, I personally don't really like how my grow light looks, so I hid it behind my closet door and I just turn it on when I leave the house. And that way I don't have to see it and my plants can still grow and thrive in my bedroom. So that about sums it up on the ways that you can make your space feel a little bit more cozy. Let me know what you guys think about these, and if you have any other ones to add, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you guys end up incorporating any of these into your homes, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I love to see the transformations and all that. And as usual, you can find me on Instagram at Cooper Osinski Interiors. And you can also check out my website, cooperosinski.com, where you can send me an email and book a consultation with me where I can help you design any room or space that you need help with. And I'm happy to give my advice, and the first consultation is completely free. But, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy your Sunday, and I will see you next week. All right, bye.